It's finally starting to cool down outside, so you know what that means. Let's break out those warm fragrances. These are my top fragrances for the fall. Welcome back everybody to the channel. My name is J. Red Lamar and we are gathered here to discuss some fall fragrances. But before we get into it, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell down below so you can be notified of all of my upcoming videos. In addition to YouTube, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at J. Red Lamar. Now let's go. So today we're talking about my top fragrances for the fall time. Again, these are my top fragrances. They may not be the best on the earth. They may not be your top fragrances, but they're the ones that I have, the ones that I own, therefore the ones that I consider the top for me. Starting things off, our first fragrance is going to be the one Eau de Perfume by Dolce & Gabbana. I like to call this one the poster child for date night fragrances that's also perfect for the fall time. This one's going to be a warm, spicy amber tobacco fragrance. And this one's going to have a lot of amber, tobacco, ginger, and cardamom here. It's warm, resinous, sweet, spicy at the same time, and that tobacco note gives it a masculine edge. Not only downfall to this fragrance is that the performance isn't that great, but for the occasions that it's really meant for, like those close, intimate encounters, this one's going to be perfect. To get better performance out of this one, I suggest just going a little extra on the sprays. My next fragrance is going to be Azzaro's Wanted by Night. I believe this fragrance is technically discontinued, but it pops up on discounters every now and then. This fragrance really surprised me, and it is grossly slept on. This is going to be a warm, spicy, cinnamon, fruity fragrance. You're going to get some cinnamon, some fruits, some tobacco, and some vanilla. So what surprised me about this fragrance and what makes it stand out is that fruity note that you get in here. Typically, fragrances for the cooler weather are warm, spicy, add some vanilla, they have some tobacco in there every now and then, but seldomly do you have that and you throw a random fruity note in there. It's very pleasant. It adds a different type of sweetness here, and it has great performance. This fragrance is a sleeper, one because it's discontinued, and it's also overshadowed by Wanted EDP Intense and the Parfum. Those two tend to get all of the shine and all of the hype. But if you can find a bottle, I highly recommend getting Azzaro's Wanted by Night. Our next fragrance is going to be from Valentino, and this is going to be Uomo Born in Roma Coral Fantasy. And that is a very long name. So this is another fragrance that I believe is slept on in a major way. This one is a warm, spicy, aromatic, fruity fragrance. Red apple, lavender, tobacco, and cardamom is what you're going to get from this one. That tobacco and red apple note is going to give this fragrance its identity. It is so nice. You get that spicy tobacco note that gives this fragrance a masculine edge, but that red apple adds a sweetness there that you don't really get in a lot of fragrances. Most fragrances that go with an apple note tend to go with a green apple, but this one has red apple and is distinctively different, and it smells amazing with that tobacco note. The cardamom and lavender is also blended pretty well in here. You really don't hear that much about Coral Fantasy, as people are always hyping up the Uomo Intense, that is the all black discontinued bottle, and the newer Born in Roma Intense. But this fragrance is so good, definitely worth checking out. It's manly yet sweet at the same time, and it's a different type of sweetness, great for the fall. Next we have Prada Luna Rossa Black. Now this is a very sexy fragrance. This fragrance is going to have a heavy coumarin note, and coumarin is very similar to tonka bean, and it's amber and musk here. The notes here come together to make a warm, slightly sweet, powdery fragrance. It's a simple fragrance, but yet it is deep, dark, and sexy at the same time. This one's going to give you moderate performance and projection. You can go a little extra on the sprays. You really don't hear too much about this one, as it's not as mass appealing as some of the others in the line like Sport, Carbon, or Ocean. It was said to be discontinued at one point, but then it came back in production, then it goes. But either way, you can find this one at discounters for a really good price. Our next fragrance is from Ralph Lauren, and this one is Polo Red Extreme. Now, unfortunately, this is a discontinued gem, which is a shame because it's one of the best from the Polo Red line, if not the best. I know the Polo Red Intense is also discontinued, and that one is also great as well. It's really a shame when these companies discontinue some of their best fragrances. But this one's going to be a warm, spicy citrus coffee fragrance. And it's a simple fragrance with only 3 notes: coffee, blood orange, and ebony wood. This one deviates most from the Polo Red DNA, and it smells amazing. If you really like a coffee scent, I suggest picking this one up if you can find it. That mixture of blood orange and ebony wood is going to give this a sweet, citric, deep, dark woodiness, and that coffee note adds a nice, warm, roasted spiciness here. Definitely suggest this one if you like a good coffee note. Our next fragrance is going to be from Guerlain, and this is L'Homme Ideal EDP. Finally, a cherry fragrance for men. This is going to be a sweet cherry vanilla almond fragrance. There's also some wood, spices, and leather here, but that cherry vanilla almond note is what's going to stick out here the most. It's a very nice, elegant fragrance. It's one of those fragrances that's great as a casual everyday fragrance, but it's also nice enough to wear to a dressed up fancy occasion. This is a designer that could definitely pass as a niche fragrance. Next we have Lattafa's Camera. Now this is one of the best fragrances that Lattafa has to offer. It's a sweet, spicy, warm vanilla fragrance. Cinnamon, vanilla, dates, tonka bean, praline, and nutmeg. Lots of spice, lots of cinnamon. That cinnamon is going to uppercut you. It's a strong, long-lasting fragrance with some similarities to Kilian's Angel Share. Not quite a clone, but more like an alternative in the ballpark type of fragrance. This one goes in a different direction from Angel Share, and it stands on its own as a great fragrance. This fragrance gives you great value as you can pick it up for about $30. It's a unisex fragrance. Men and women both love this one. And the same goes for the Kawa Flanker, which is the same Camera fragrance with the added coffee note there, giving that fragrance a little more masculine edge to it. So our next fragrance is going to be from BDK Parfums, and this is Gris Charnel Extrait. Now this is one of my favorite fragrances. It's a woody, spicy, sweet vanilla fragrance that's slightly fruity. So this one's going to give you some sandalwood, cardamom, vanilla, fig, and black tea. It's a strong, long-lasting fragrance with great projection. And it's a very unique scent. If you're a lover of sandalwood, cardamom, fig, or black tea, or you're just looking for something different that's strong, check this one out. This is a banger of a fragrance. Moving on, our next fragrance is from Xerjoff, and this one is Naxos. So this one is one of the best offerings from Xerjoff. It's a sweet lavender honey tobacco fragrance. And for me, it's that lavender note that's going to stick out the most here. I know for some people say the honey or the tobacco sticks out for them, but for me, that lavender note is very strong here. This is one of those fragrances that is super hyped that a lot of people love, but I will say this is definitely for a more mature crowd. I don't see younger guys really wearing Naxos like that. For the older crowd, probably 30 and up, I can definitely recommend picking up Xerjoff Naxos. Next we have Le Mans Le Parfum from Jean Paul Gaultier. So this fragrance is a warm, spicy, vanilla lavender scent. Think of a modernized version of the OG Le Mans, but more grown up with a sexiness to it. This one takes out the florals, mints, and fruits from the original, adds some heavier spices, and a powdery iris note. This is a fragrance that's great for date night. It's spicy, but not in your face. It's not loud. It's not super projecting. You're going to get moderate performance, moderate projection here, and it's great for intimate situations. This is a very sexy fragrance. And bringing up the rear, our final fragrance is going to be Armani Code Absolute. This one is another discontinued gem of a fragrance. When I heard this fragrance was being discontinued, I went and bought the giant bottle because this fragrance is so good. It is a sweet, spicy, vanilla, powdery fragrance. This one's going to have prominent notes of vanilla, suede, tonka bean, nutmeg, and woody notes. This is going to be another fragrance that's perfect for date night. It's going to be very spicy. It's going to have a good dose of vanilla and a good powderiness to it. And for me, it's that nutmeg note here that makes it such a sexy fragrance and worth checking out. And it's a long-lasting fragrance. Another banger of a fragrance that should not have been been discontinued. Armani Code Absolute. If you can find it, get it. So that's gonna be it for today. Those were my top fragrances for the fall time. A lot of fragrances that's definitely worth picking up or getting your nose on if you ever have the chance. Remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell down below so you can be notified of all of my upcoming videos. In addition to YouTube, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at JRedLamar. Once again, my name is JRedLamar, and until next time, spray something.